you're well. Thank you for taking a minute with me today to go over the Venus retrograde that we just finished in this last phase that we're in called the post-shadow period. Quick recap of the last few months. Venus went retrograde. That happened on June 19th. Venus is the planet that rules our relationships, who we love, what we love, who loves us, what loves us. It rules our creativity, artistic expression. It also rules our money. Zeros in the bank account, or that can be what we spend our money on, what we consider valuable. Venus was going retrograde in the sign of Leo. And Leo is the sign that rules loyalty, independence, being our true selves or being true to ourselves, being true with others, honesty. And retrograde basically just means Venus, with all of the Leo energy, is going to go over a certain part of our chart 3 times. We are currently in the 3rd phase of that, meaning this is the last pass. Everything that's happened the last couple months has been about revealing what we might do differently, what we might like to shift. I know for me, whenever Venus has gone retrograde, it's been I'm going in one direction and something from a completely different part of my life will sort of interrupt and say, do this instead, or take a minute, focus on this for now. And then I might go back to the path I was originally on before Venus interrupted, later on down the road during another transit to Leo, or maybe a different Venus transit. The information I'm going to go over with you now should help you not only to process this Venus retrograde, but probably some in the past, as well as to connect some of the retrogrades in the past to what we're doing right now. Can help to inform the choices that you're making today, the direction you might take moving forward. Venus will retrograde in the same 5 signs for 120 years in 8-year cycles. Right now we are in the Leo cycle. Venus will retrograde in Leo, in Capricorn, in Gemini, in Scorpio, and Aries over 8 years. And then she starts over again. It's 2023. We just had a Venus retrograde in Leo. Started in June, ends in early October. 8 years ago, in 2015, at about the same time, we also had a Venus retrograde in Leo. If we look back every 8 years, it's likely that we will see a connection between what was going on this past summer up until October and what has happened, for instance, in 2015. For example, Venus went retrograde in Leo in 2023 from June to October. It will end the first week of October. And in 2015, around the same time from June to October, she also went retrograde in Leo. Same thing 8 years before that. If we look back on some of those cycles, it's likely that we'll get some information about what we're doing today, whether that's picking up where we left off 8 years ago, whether that's like a theme that's carried over. Really depends on your chart and where Leo is and how this is working out, which I'll go over at the end of this video. For now, just know the cycle that we're in connects to the one 8 years ago. And those other 4 signs that Venus goes retrograde in, Capricorn, Aries, Gemini, Scorpio, those will also inform what's going on right now in some situations. So usually it's wherever we have the most activity in our chart, wherever we have most emphasis in our chart, which signs are the most important to us. This Venus retrograde cycle started on June 19th with the pre-shadow period. The pre-shadow period ended on July 23rd when Venus actually went retrograde. The retrograde ended on September 4th. And so she's now going forward again, kind of like she went over a place in our chart, backed up over it, and now is going forward again. And she will return to where she was and move forward on October 7th. That's when this whole thing is sort of behind us, and we'll probably have a new direction in some area of our lives. Probably what you're feeling right now is like you have an idea about the direction, but you're not quite sure how it's going to work out, and you're not completely sure of yourself. Or maybe you are feeling sure of yourself, but you weren't before, and this is a big switch, and so I'm sure about the direction I need to take, but I'm not sure how. So it's okay to feel that way. We're not out of the woods yet. So more will be revealed between now and October 7th that will help you with that moving forward piece of this puzzle. There is a link in the comment section below that will help you to figure out those dates for each one of the signs. It's a PDF. You can print it out if you want, or just save it to your phone, computer. So now we're going to look at how this Venus retrograde affected each rising sign. If you know your rising sign, you can go ahead and watch just your rising sign by clicking the timestamps in the comments below. If you have Leo rising, this Venus retrograde occurred in your 1st house, and it affected or is ruling your 10th and your 3rd houses. The 1st house is just basically you. It's your physical body, it's your immediate environment, It's what's right in front of you. The 10th house is your public reputation, your career, your public persona, how you appear to the world around you, what you do not consider private and you share with others. Your 3rd house is communication, siblings, your daily routine. So if you put all 3 of those things together, it can give you a good idea of where was Venus affecting your life during the summer and into the fall. If you have Virgo rising, Venus was transiting your 12th house, ruling the 2nd and the 9th. The 12th house is self-undoing. Can be a lot of our unconscious behaviors, things we're completely unaware of that might come out in dreams. So you might have had crazy nightmares during this time. The 12th house can also rule what we repress, what we are unaware of ourselves. So it's not just what I keep private, it's what I don't even know about. It's also the house of self-sabotage as well as other people sabotaging you. The 2nd house is your income as far as what you have in the bank, but it's also what you spend your money on. So it's the money you have and the things that you consider valuable that you purchase with your money. So that can be your food, your house, your stuff. Your 9th house is travel, psychology, beliefs, spirituality, and philosophy. It can also be higher learning and your higher self, like how you picture yourself in the future when you put all of your beliefs together, the direction you believe you're going in. When we say travel in the 9th house, it's a long ways away. You're not going to your grandma's house in the next town. You're taking a trip much further than that. If you have Libra rising, Venus is in your 11th house and it's ruling your 1st and 8th houses. Your 11th house is your friends, your community, social groups. It can be groups you have that you're involved with online as well as groups that you're involved with in person, either or both. It can be your goals, your ideals. It can also be fans. Like if there's, and for obviously for famous people, that's literally fans, but for us normies, that can just be someone who maybe worships you from afar in some way. The 1st house is you. It's your physical body. It's your physical appearance. And the 8th house can be bills, taxes, other people's money. It can be your spouse's money or your partner's money. It can be debts or credit, like credit you might have taken out since the summer, or credit loans that have come due since summer. If you have Scorpio rising, Venus is in your 10th house and is ruling your 7th and 12th houses. So your 10th house is your career, your public persona. It's what you do not consider private about yourself and you share with others. That might be a persona that is completely not you, or it might just be parts of yourself that you're comfortable sharing. Your 7th house is your partnerships, usually your spouse or the person you consider like your person. It's commitments that you might make involving one other person. And your 12th house is institutions, self-sabotage, self-undoing. It can be hospitals if you're going to be staying for a while. Hidden beliefs about ourselves or the world that we don't even know we have. Unconscious motivations or just are unconscious. It can also just be dreams. If you have Sagittarius rising, Venus is in your 9th house and it's ruling your 6th and your 11th houses. The 9th house is travel, psychology, your higher self, higher learning, higher education, your spiritual beliefs as well as your religion, but it does not have to include religion. It is what your own personal religion looks like. So again, that can be organized, that can be something that you put together yourself. It can be the God that you answer to, whatever that looks like. It can also just be your philosophy on life, as long as it's in like a moral sense, like these are the actions that I take because I believe in this. So this is the way I see the world. So more informs the way we see the world than actually is our perception of the world around us. Your 6th house is lack of health or health, work, employees, anyone who considers you their boss, or at least the head of the project that you're on. Even if at your work you may have had people that you were side by side with, if you were on a team for a certain amount of time but you were the head of that team, that would be people who consider you the leader, so that they would be your subordinates. And then your 11th house, which is your friends, your community, your social groups, internet groups. This can also be people who are almost fans of you, that are watching you from afar or looking up to you from far away. If you have Capricorn rising, Venus is in your 8th house and is ruling your 10th and your 5th houses. So the 8th house is other people's money, taxes, bills, credit. It can be your partner's money. It can be insurance. 10th house is your career, your public reputation. It's what you share with the world. It's what you see as what you're willing to share. This is not private. I will share this with others. For some people, that is a completely made up thing that I put out into the rest of the world. For others, it's this part of me I'm comfortable sharing, this part I'm not. This part stays private. So the 10th house would be that part that you consider okay, safe to share with the public, whatever public means in your life. And your 5th house, which is your children, your creativity. This can be your inner child beliefs. This is joy. This is where we have fun. So whatever that means for you, whatever is fun for you is usually illustrated in your 5th house. If you have Aquarius rising, Venus is in your 7th house and it's ruling your 9th and your 4th. So your 7th house is partnerships, usually spouses or whoever you consider your person. Can also be commitments or agreements with another person. Your 9th house is travel, spiritual beliefs, your belief in whatever higher power you answer to. It does not rule a specific higher power or religion. It rules the religion or higher power of the person whose chart it is. So it's whatever that means for you. This can also be just a philosophy about life or morality. It's whatever you answer to. That can also be the law. And your 4th house, which is your family, your home, your parents, and it's your private life. It's what I don't share with others. So this is what's behind the scenes or what's kept personal. Sometimes that can be a good thing. That's just a reflection of healthy boundaries. And sometimes that can be a feeling of having 2 different lives. Like I have such a drastically different life at home. There's turmoil, there's chaos. Or I have such a different life at my work. There's turmoil, there's chaos. And when I'm at home, I'm comfortable. So it's the difference between that 10th house and that 4th house, whatever that means for you. If you have Pisces rising, Venus is in your 6th house and it's ruling your 8th and 3rd houses. Your 6th house is your health or your lack of health, your work, your employees, kind of the day-to-day grind. It can also sometimes be accidents or service that you give to other people. Usually this will be focused on our physical health or people who consider us their employer or the person that they answer to when they're at work. That could be temporary in like a team situation, or that can be, long-term if you're a manager or a boss of some kind where you work. The 8th house, which is other people's money, other people's valuables. This can be taxes, insurance, debts, bills that are owed, credit, your spouse's finances or your spouse's money or income. The 3rd house is communication, young people. It's basically like our foundational education. So it's reading, the things we do automatically, usually by adulthood, reading, writing, adding numbers in the grocery store, those things that are just, we do them every day. It's also your daily routine. So if your daily routine is very busy, you probably have a very busy 3rd house. This can also be your siblings or people in your family who are the same or similar age as you. If you have Aries rising, Venus is in your 5th house and is ruling your 7th and your 2nd houses. 5th house is children, creativity, what we're passionate about, can be affairs, romance. It's where we have fun. It's where we have a good time, hopefully. Can also be where we can have too much fun, where there can be excess or there can be an affair that is found out about. That does not mean that every time you have a transit to your 5th house that you're going to find out somebody is cheating on you or you are going to cheat on someone. But if it was to happen, that's where it would be. The 7th house, which is partnerships, relationships, marriage, spouses, or commitments. And your 2nd house, which is valuables, your income, your money, the stuff that you buy with your money, what you consider valuable. So maybe you spend a lot of money on clothes, food, or trips, whatever is valuable to you and what you spend your income on. Maybe you feel like you've been spending all of your income on debt and that's affected the joy that you would normally feel in life. That's decreased because your money isn't going to things that you find fun. It's going to old debts. And if those debts were brought on by a spouse, or I'm helping a spouse out, or the spouse is helping me, or I don't want my spouse to have to help me, this would be 7th house, 2nd house, 5th house connection, because I'm not experiencing as much joy in my life because I'm spending all my money on bills because I don't want this burden to fall on my spouse. If you have Taurus rising, Venus is in your 4th house and it's ruling your 1st and your 6th. So your 4th house is your home, your family, your parents, or your private life. Or it can be what is behind the scenes. So it's what other people don't know about me. It may not be necessarily intentional. Your 1st house is just you. It's your physical self. It's how you show up. And your 6th house is your health or your lack of health, as well as employees. It can also be temporary. So if you are heading up a team at work, for instance, then the people who see you as the leader of that team would be considered your subordinates, at least for that amount of time. If you have someone who mows your lawn or painted your house, a handyman, all of those things would be in your 6th house. If you have Gemini rising, Venus is in your 3rd house and it's ruling your 12th and your 5th houses. The 3rd house is communication. It's young people. It's our foundational learning. It's the things that we learned when we were in grade school that have usually by adulthood become automatic. It's also siblings, and it can be your daily routine, what you do every day, the places that you visit every day or almost every day. The 12th house is institutions. It can be hospitals. It can be retreats. But it's also self-undoing, self-sabotage, or being sabotaged by a hidden enemy. It may look like self-sabotage, turns out that there was somebody sabotaging me behind the scenes. Your 5th house is your children, your creativity, can also be your inner child. It's the things that bring you joy. It's what you're passionate about. So when we have a healthy inner child, there are many things that bring us joy, that are making us happy, that we love to go do. And if our inner child is needing some love, needing some attention, we may not be finding as much joy in life. So that would be something to address. This retrograde may have been trying to point that out. The 5th house can also be excessive. So if I'm out of balance in my 5th house, if I am indulging in some activity too much, that would show up also in my 5th house as something that I needed to reel in, put some healing attention on. That could be temporary. That can be like a long-term addiction. If we change our diet, a lot of times that can be in both the 5th and the 6th houses, because it's going to affect where I'm experiencing joy in a lot of different ways. If I'm indulging in food that I shouldn't be eating, but I really like that, then not doing that is a restriction that I don't like doing. It's not bringing me any fun. However, in the long term, maybe I'm losing enough weight to breathe better when I'm engaged in other activities that I do every day, or walking up and down stairs. That makes me feel better. That does make me happy. Your diet can be represented in the 5th house in a lot of different ways. If you have Cancer rising, Venus is in your 2nd house and it's ruling your 11th and your 4th house. Your 2nd house is your valuables, your income. It's the dollar signs or the zeros in your bank account, but it's also what you spend your money in your bank account on. Your 11th house is your friends, your community, your social group. It can be your goals, your ideas, your dreams, your hopes and dreams. It can also be fans or someone who is looking up to you from afar. Your 4th house is your home, your family, it's your parents. It can be the way that you parent others or don't parent others. It can also be what you keep private in your life. So I have my public persona, that's my 10th house, and my 4th house is, this is mine, this is the part of me that I don't share with everyone. Sometimes that's a healthy thing, this is just healthy boundaries. Other times, this is leading to lives and becoming uncomfortable with that. So that's all for the rising signs. I hope that information helps. If you're interested in knowing more about how this Venus retrograde has affected you specifically in your life, and you want to dive into some of those past retrogrades, feel free to click the link below and you can make an appointment with me for a private reading. We can look at your natal chart and where Venus is in your chart and what's aspecting it and how Venus affects you every day and how that daily effect was changed by this retrograde. There's a link below and you can schedule yourself whatever time works for you. If you haven't already, check out the video for the full moon, which is coming on September 29th. There's a link below for that as well. Thank you for watching and for being here today. Have a fabulous, fabulous day. Bye.